From the savanna plains, rainforest jungles to hidden cultural cities, Uganda has many obscure and diverse destinations great for a private or group African safari holiday. Uganda has all the savanna plains, the rainforest jungles, the snow-capped mountains, and the indigenous African cultures to brag about. Having all this travel trove in one giant private reserve, I think, makes Ugandan people the most modest, welcoming, entertaining, and so much caring hosts. Take a look at our compilation of the top 10 Uganda destinations, use it for your vacation planning, and leave a comment to let us know what you think about our choices. Please remember to subscribe to help my channel grow. Few reserves in the world have such high biodiversity, landscapes, savanna plains, bushland, wetlands, and lush forests like this park. Covering 1,978 square kilometers, scenic Queen Elizabeth National Park is the most popular of all Uganda destinations with animals and tourists. Uganda's most famous safari destinations protect the highest number of animals. Some of the best to see on safari include hippos cooling off their massive bodies in the Kozinga Channel, elephant parades, lion prides, leopards, hyenas, Uganda cobs, and the chimpanzee troop in the Kayambura Gorge forest. The park is easy to reach and enjoys a stunning location on the Rift Valley floor between Lakes Edward and George. Varied habitats epitomize the Rift Valley vegetative mosaic that tempted our hominid ancestors to migrate from forest to grasslands and are home to 95 mammal and 612 bird species. Scenically, Queen Elizabeth National Park has everything. 30 miles to the north of the park, the Blue Rwenzori Mountains explode from the plains, a composite, jagged mass of mountains, is 60 miles long and 40 wide. Looking in a certain ever-changing park atmosphere, the mountains seem like you can reach out and touch them. Across Lake Edward to the west, the Mitamba Hills stand sentinel on the Congo border, blue in the long sight, but the closer you get, the green, wooded, steep, and unfriendly epitomize dark Africa. Mwea Peninsula is the park's primary tourist hub, reached by a narrow portage separating Lake Edward and the Kozinga Channel. The peninsula enjoys marvelous views in all directions. Mwea is home to the park headquarters, several modern safari lodges, and budget hostels. Voted second on our top 10 Uganda destinations is Murchison Falls National Park, which sits on the shores of Lake Albert in northwestern Uganda. It's known for the rumbling Murchison Falls, the most powerful falls where the Victoria Nile River squeezes through a 7-meter narrow gap to splash out powerful water at 300 cubic meters per second. Adjacent to Murchison is Uhuru Falls, taking the excess of Murchison Falls water to create a spectacle that has become a Uganda tourism magnet. Together with the adjacent Bugangu Wildlife Reserve and Koruma Wildlife Reserve, the park forms the Murchison Falls Conservation Area, the largest of all Uganda destinations at 3,893 square kilometers. Murchison Falls National Park is endowed with big game, including elephants and hippos, and you could catch sight of the chimpanzee in the Konio Padidi mahogany forest. The Lake Albert Delta is home to rare shoebill stocks. There is game fishing in the Cascades of Koruma Falls. It lies at the northern end of the Albertine Rift, where the valley's bounding escarpments fade into North Uganda's anonymous expanses. The Victoria Nile bisects the park for 100 kilometers as it flows west from Koruma Falls to the Albert Nile. Created in 1952, today, it forms the core of the even larger Murchison Falls Conservation Area, including the adjoining Koruma and Bugangu Wildlife Reserves. The River Nile through that park with its teeming hippo and serried ranks of crocodiles on the sandbanks, coupled with large numbers of other species coming down to drink and bathe, in the highlight of a visit to this magnificent park. The most dramatic view of the waterfall is at the top of the falls, where the sight and sounds of the Nile crashing through the 6-meter wide chasm makes an unforgettable assault on your neural senses. The falls site may be reached either by vehicle or a hot half-hour climb on foot after leaving the Para Launch in Fogeo Gorge. The latter route passes Baker's Point, a peninsula that faces Murchison Falls and a secondary cataract named Uhuru Falls. The best safari game viewing opportunities in this top Uganda destination are found north of the Nile in the savanna plains of Gulije area. This stunning grassland wilderness is sandwiched between the Victoria and Albert Niles with panoramic views towards the Rift Valley escarpment in the West Nile districts and Dr. Congo. Murchison Falls Wildlife Collection lacks the rhino to complete Africa's famous Big 5 game animals list. Unfortunately for safari enthusiasts, the fifth of them, the white rhino, lives in the nearby Ziwa Rhino Sanctuary, is closed off for tourism due to misunderstandings between the private sanctuary's owners.
Bwindi would have taken the #1 spot on the top 10 Uganda destinations because it protects the world's most precious jungle jewels, the mountain gorillas.
Alternatively, it took the third because it's only popular with international tourists and not the locals. And this is mostly because it's the most expensive of all places to visit in Uganda. The name Bwindi comes from the local word Emabwindi, meaning place of darkness. The thick forest canopy blankets the forest floors, creating an environment for plants to highly compete for light and an impenetrable jungle for humans. Thus the name Bwindi, impenetrable forest. This sort of steep ridges covered in the thick, steamy jungle is just as magnificent as it sounds. Bwindi Impenetrable National Park is one of Africa's prehistoric habitats that scientists date back to have survived the last ice age as most of the continent's other forests disappeared. The tropical forest is one of the largest areas in East Africa, which still has Afro-montane lowland forest extending to well within the montane forest belt. Located in a mountainous area in southwest Uganda, Bwindi Impenetrable National Park is most famous for its giant primate inhabitants, the mountain gorillas. Entebbe town and Kampala city make the top 10 destinations in Uganda list mainly because one is the nation's cultural and business hub, while the other is the only hub connecting Uganda to other international cities. Established on rolling hills some 10 kilometers off northern Lake Victoria shores, Kampala is the conventional African capital. More verdant than many of its regional counterparts, not relatively so populous or chaotic as others, but practically the familiar contrast of a bustling compact high-rise city center rising from a leafy suburban sprawl, increasingly organic as one reaches its rustic periphery. It has a contrasting atmosphere of modern urban bustle and time-warped tropical anger. Kampala is linked to Entebbe's international airport by a smooth-surfaced highway passing through a lush cover of broad-leaved plantains that make for a fascinating introduction to Uganda. Coming by air, you'll land at Entebbe International Airport. Kampala is the pulsating heart of Uganda's cultural and intellectual life, nightlife. It also lies at the international and domestic long-haul bus network hub, making it an attractive base for independent travelers seeking a taste of urban African cultures. Entebbe's attractions to see include the Uganda Wildlife Education Center, commonly known as the Zoo, which will give you a great introduction to most of Uganda's wildlife you'll find in the countryside. Near the airport are a great many places to stay that are a walking distance to shopping malls, local open markets, golf courses, and quaint suburbs for sunset walks and biking experiences. Stepping into Kibali Forest, you will immediately be welcomed by the dew freshness, endemic flowers fragrance, and primates' musty scents. The alien sounds that bounce off your eardrums echo from distant red colobus hoots and exotic birds' tweets. In the distance, the sound of forest elephants felling branches along its path gives you an image of what surprise inhabitants you could encounter in this ancient tropical forest. Unexpected visitors leave trails around your forest camp or cottage to inform you that someone is watching when you're not. Guttural belches from warthogs remind you of the clumsy pamba and Taiman escapades of the Hakuna Matata jaguars. Gaze up, and a single scene might capture the iconic and unique as an olive long-tailed cuckoo flies above a small buffalo herd. The spirit of this jungle will make you feel more alive than ever before. This 795 square kilometers national park just outside Fort Portal comprises dense tropical rainforests, within which dwell enormous numbers of primates. If you can't afford the lavish cost of mountain gorilla trekking, then visiting one of the 5 habituated troops of chimpanzees here is a very worthy substitute, not to mention a far less financially draining one. Beaming with an alluring combination of exquisite landscape scenery and various remarkable tourist activities, Kibale Forest National Park, together with the nearby Ndoli-Kasenda Crater Lakes, is close to being an independent traveler's dream. Kibale Forest is highly powerfully and mysteriously attractive to nature lovers who come to view a wide range of forest birds and track chimpanzees and other 12 primate species that find refuge within the park. Kibale National Park's scenic appeal, chimp tracking cost, and the rising number of safari lodges make it one of the top destinations in Uganda and a great alternative to the southern gorilla destination Bwindi Impenetrable National Park. The most popular activity in Kibale National Park is the guided chimpanzee tracking excursion out of Kanyanchu. Almost as popular is the guided walking trail through the Bigodi Wetland Sanctuary, which is probably better for general monkey viewing. With exciting African wildlife watching in arm's reach of the capital, the 370 sq.km Lake Mburo National Park is an increasingly common stop on the southwestern Uganda safari circuit. It's the only one of the top 10 Uganda destinations in the southern region where you'll see zebras, giraffes, and the only park in the country with impalas, slender mongoose, and giant bush rats. Lake Mburo is an underrated Uganda safari destination, dominated by the eponymous lake, which with its forest-fringed shores hemmed in by rolling green hills is scenically reminiscent of the more celebrated Lake Naivasha in the Kenyan Rift Valley. Despite its relative accessibility, Lake Mburo National Park is historically bypassed by most Uganda safari trips and independent travelers, presumably due to the low, Big Five count, particularly the lack of elephants and lions. Even in the absence of wildlife heavyweights, however, Lake Mburo offers some excellent safari game viewing. Stay for 2 or more nights, and you're as likely to see as many different large mammal species over a day as you would in any Ugandan national park. Some recent developments have raised the profile of the park. Lake Mburo is also the only protected area of the top 10 destinations in Uganda where visitors can view game animals on foot and horseback. The park harbors several species you may not see easily elsewhere in Uganda. It is the only reserve in Uganda to support a large population of impala, and one of only 3 protected areas countrywide where Bacho's zebra occurs, the other 2 being the far less accessible Kidipo Valley and Penupi. For locals, Lake Mburo is the cheapest and most accessible of the top 10 Uganda destinations. The park offers excellent family safari holidays and bushwalking experiences for kids and for tourists. The park offers excellent complementary to the gorilla trekking experience in Bwindi Impenetrable Forest. It also acts as a buffer for the long voyages to Bwindi and Queen Elizabeth National Parks. One of Uganda's largest towns, Jinja, just about 80 kilometers east of Kampala, overlooking the point where the Nile flows out of Lake Victoria, makes it to our top 10 destinations in Uganda because of its overwhelming popularity with locals and international travelers. And it is the source of the mighty river rather than the moderately interesting town that attracts visitors to Jinja. The thrilling series of Grade 5 rapids below Bujagali Falls, a magnet for adrenaline tourists, has emerged as perhaps the single most popular tourist activity in Uganda, arguably surpassing even the mountain gorillas of the southwest. The rapids attract several adrenaline adventures concentrated in a small radius. It is one of the most spectacular whitewater rafting destinations in the world. There is also a certain poignancy attached to standing on the slopes from where Speak Fast identified that geographical holy grail which, less than a decade earlier, had lured an obsessed Livingstone to a feverish death near Lake Bangweulu in Zambia. No less impressive is the knowledge that the water flowing past these green slopes will eventually drain into the Mediterranean, following a 6,500 kilometers journey through the desert wastes of Sudan and Egypt. Jinja has an attractively lush location on the northern shore of Lake Victoria above the Ripon Falls, identified by Speak in 1862 as the source of the Nile, but submerged following the construction of the Owen Falls Dam in the 1950s. The colonial town was formerly the industrial heartland of Uganda, with a current population of 300,000 people. Although its population makes it one of the largest urban centers in Uganda, Jinja is far from a metropolis that straddles the source of the Nile. First-time visitors wandering around Jinja's compact, low-rise town center might reasonably reflect on the colonial times the Europeans made this place their economic center. Lake Banyonya's exotic landscapes that are a magnet for local and international travelers place it on this list of top 10 destinations in Uganda. Dotted with at least 20 small islands and encircled by steep terraced hills, Banyonya is a magical spot. It has been a popular day trip out of Kabale for decades. Over the past few years, the lake has further gained popularity thanks to a proliferation of budget and other campsites and resorts around the small fishing village of Rutinda, also known as Kabahinga, and nearby islands. Banyonya is a local name translating to little birds, which references the prolific weaver colonies along its shore. Larger birds are also represented by grey-crowned cranes, African harrier hawks, and various herons and egrets. Other common sightings include the Leveland cuckoo, white-tailed monad, slender-billed baglefinch, cardinal woodpecker, and the African kingfisher. The lake is large and irregularly shaped with numerous islands and the surrounding hillsides, which locals have beautifully cultivated like parts of Nepal. The area is vibrant with activities like canoeing, cycling, or hiking. Also in its favor is the high-altitude location, which ensures a moderate climate, often becoming quite chilly at night, and a relatively low incidence of malaria. Health authorities have reliably reported the absence of bilharzia and crocodiles and hippos, which means the lake is very safe for swimming adventures. Active travelers will be excited that the easy availability of canoes, kayaks, and mountain bikes for hire, and enough potential excursions to keep one busy for days. One primary reason to include Lake Banyonya on the top destinations in Uganda is the endless opportunities for activities available at the Lake Bunyoni region. Many villages around the lake, several of the guest houses, and campsites have boats for hire. It isn't challenging to arrange a canoe trip on the lake. Canoeing is a popular activity, and you can rent dugouts from most of the camps. Charges are pretty reasonable, but practice for a while before heading off on an ambitious trip around the islands, as many tourists end up going round and round in circles, doing what's known locally as the mzungu. Nestled in the extreme northeastern corner of Uganda among rugged hills and valleys and off the beaten track, Kidipo National Park is a destination hidden so far away that its beauty has mostly gone unnoticed. Sprawling with expansive savanna plains, soaring mountains, spectacular landscapes, and great buffalo herds, Kidipo Valley offers one of Africa's most attractive picturesque safaris. It sits on a massive 557 square mile rocky semi-arid Karamoja province. Of all the top 10 destinations in Uganda, Kidipo Valley is the most remote and unusual. It is crammed in the northwestern corner of Uganda's border with Kenya and South Sudan, which would take approximately 10 hours to drive 292 miles from Kampala to Kidipo on the newly paved road. Kidipo National Park offers breathtaking savanna scenery that ends on a rocky horizon. The park harbors outstanding landscape scenery unrivaled by any other national park in the whole of East Africa, and it features a wide latitudinal array that offers a variety of climatic conditions which support remarkably different vegetation. Over 77 animals inhabit Kidipo National Park. Among the resident carnivore species only endemic to Kidipo are the hunting dog, bat-eared fox, cheetah, striped hyena, caracal, aardwolf, plus grants gazelle, elephant, zebras, bush pigs, Cape buffaloes, warthogs, Difasa waterbacks, Rothschild giraffes, bush daskia, and elands, bushbucks, in addition to lions, common zebras, leopards, plus several small cats such as the side-striped jackal, Kongoni, black-backed jackal, and spotted hyenas are seen to rest on the rocks. The park has 5 primate species, including the endemic Kabarondo bush baby, numerous obis within the Naras Valley, the Senegal galago, and the white-tailed mongoose. However, they comfortably come out for a good show on a night game drive. Kidipo National Park is home to one of the smallest ethnic groups in Africa, the Ik. With a population of just above 10,000, the small tribe struggles to preserve their unique culture and language, which no rival tribes understand. A visit through Kidipo will immerse you in their raw cultural practices that even a historian would marvel at. You'll learn about their fascinating way of life, meet the village elders, and enjoy a fun-filled activity with the community children. Kidipo Valley has the second highest population of birds than any of the top destinations in Uganda, led only by Queen Elizabeth National Park, showcasing an impressive bird list of over 470 species. Rwenzori National Park encompasses the legendary Rwenzori Mountains, dubbed the Mountains of the Moon, where the highest snow peak in the country pervades the East African clouds. The ranges are a combination of beautiful peaks, glaciers, valleys, rivers, lakes, and various species of flora and fauna, making the Rwenzori scenic. The stratified vegetation is one of the main attractions for visitors. Rwenzori makes our top 10 destinations in Uganda because they hold 3 of the continent's 5 highest peaks. The summits are spectacular, the routes are uncrowded, and the high-altitude forest teems with life. The ranges contain 6 of Africa's 10 highest mountains, most of them more elevated than the tallest Alps. Yet, to most bucket list hikers, they are largely unknown, overshadowed by Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Kenya, Africa's 2 highest mountains. The fabled Mountains of the Moon are now a protected World Heritage Site within the Rwenzori Mountains National Park and are considered to be the source of the White Nile. Rwenzori Mountains Range also supports a diversity of animals, including 70 mammal and 177 bird species, several of the latter being Albertine Rift endemics. It is the only national park in Uganda where you'll find the Angola colobus, though sighting it will require careful search. Nevertheless, you can easily spot the similar and more widespread black and white colobus monkey, small antelope such as bushbucks, and unusual reptiles such as the three-horned chameleon. Like other large East African mountains, the Rwenzori Range has several altitude zones, each with its own distinct microclimate and flora and fauna. It is known for its distinctive flora rather than its fauna. On the route to the peaks, hikers climb through a series of distinct altitudinal vegetation zones, including montane forest, bamboo, tree heathers, and Afro-alpine. On the foothills of the mountain, you will witness farmlands and on top of the distinctive mountain flora, which has attracted a great deal of fauna and delivers a fantastic picturesque to travel enthusiasts. Arrive at the top of the mountain and behold the majestic snow-capped peaks that will leave you breathless. Rwenzori Mountains Park is situated in western Uganda in the East African Rift Valley and also straddles to the Democratic Republic of Congo and its conservation area known as Virunga National Park.